So God has put upon my heart a drash to share with us out of this week's Torah portion, the mitzvah of gratitude as an antidote of idolatry. That might be a mouthful, but the mitzvah simply means commandment, all right? So the commandment of gratitude. That commandment of gratitude is an antidote of idolatry. So we are looking into the Torah again, as the Master said, you're bringing forth treasures new and old. So we would have read some of these portions again. Now God is giving to us something, I believe, on a bit deeper level. And I pray that as we see it, we would indeed hear what the Spirit of God is saying to us. As from last drash that I would have shared with us, there is no other. That word has been really resonating in my heart and mind to such a point that all creation seeming to become insignificant. And my eyes are focused upon the Creator because there is no other. So the sovereignty of God, the oneness of God is looming so large in my heart and my mind, and I say, oh my God, I can't read the scripture now without thinking, know today, know this day, take it to your heart. Remind yourself that the Lord, He is God. In heaven above, on earth below, there is no other. So with that revelation, we go into this week's Torah portion again, and we want to see what Father is saying to us. So look with me, as it were, into this Torah portion, Deuteronomy 8, and we're going to get into the text and see what Father is speaking to us. Deuteronomy 8, verse 10 to 19. We have this text that is before us. When you have eaten and are satisfied, you shall bless the Lord your God for the good land, and that good land is the land of Israel, which He has given you. So He's speaking to the Jewish people, the children of Israel, and by extension to the congregation of Messiah. Then He gave us this warning: beware that you do not forget the Lord your God by not keeping His commandments and His ordinances and His statutes, which I'm commanding you today. Right? Today. Otherwise, when you have eaten and are satisfied, and you have built good houses and lived in them, and when your herds and your flocks multiply as they will, and your silver and gold multiply, and all that you have multiplies, then, watch this, your heart, your mind will become proud, and you will forget the Lord your God, who brought you out from the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You will forget that. He led you through this great and terrible wilderness with its fiery serpents and scorpions and thirsty ground, where there was no water. He brought forth water for you out of the rock of flint. In the wilderness, He fed you with manna, which your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, did not know, that He might humble you and that He might test you to do good for you in the end. Otherwise, you may say in your heart, in your mind, my power and my strength of my hand made me this wealth. But you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is He. It is He. He is the Lord in heaven above and earth below. It is He who has given you power to make wealth, that He may confirm His covenant which He swore to your fathers, as it is this day. It shall come about, if you ever forget the Lord your God and go after other gods and serve them and worship them, I testify against you today that you will surely perish. This text is before us, and I believe Father is speaking to us. The mitzvah of gratitude as an antidote to idolatry. The mitzvah of gratitude. Where are we going? When you've eaten and are satisfied, you should bless God. Because if you don't, you will forget. And you will think it is your power, your might, your ingenuity, your resources who have gotten you this wealth. And when you do that, you would find yourself going after other gods. In other words, there's a link with ingratitude and idolatry. And I don't think that we think that deeply about ingratitude in that way. Ungratefulness, ingratitude is idolatry? What? When I don't open my mouth and say thanks for the slightest benefit I receive from God or from other people, it reveals my idolatrous heart? Yes. Why do we need a mitzvah of proclaiming gratitude? Why do we need what we have come to understand as Birkat Hamazon? Why do we need a commandment to thank God? Why? Because the human mind is likely prone to forget. So the wilderness has taught dependence. The promised land will now test remembrance. The wilderness taught dependence, but the promised land will test remembrance. Would you remember? Hunger drives people to God, but prosperity often convinces people that they no longer need Him. Hunger drives us to God. God gives us hunger. God gives us this. Why? Because when we are hungry and thirsty, we need some aspect of God's creation to satisfy us. So hunger should point us back to the Creator. Being thirsty should point us back to the Creator. So He tells us, be careful, be very careful that you do not forget the Lord your God. Otherwise, when you eat and are satisfied, you may say to yourself, my power and the strength of my hands have produced this wealth for me. Now, I've never heard anybody saying that outright. Sometimes people say it, but what God is saying, I hear your thoughts. I know the intent of your thoughts. And when you don't articulate thanks for me, the message that you're communicating to yourself and to others is that my ability have got me this wealth, this plate of food, this drink. So the greatest danger was not poverty but prosperity. You see, brethren, material blessings were never intended to become substitutes for God. They were never intended to become substitutes. So, forgetfulness leads to idolatry. Exile. Remembrance is lead to redemption. So God is telling us, if you forget, you go into exile. If you remember, you move into redemption. So He tells us again and again, remember and do not forget. Why? Because we have the proclivity to forget. Forgetfulness, exile. Remembrance, redemption. When you're eaten and are satisfied, God is telling us, bless Him. Why? Because the hidden idolatry. Idolatry is not only bowing before carved images. Scripture also exposes a subtler form of idolatry. And this is where God is exposing our hearts. Trusting possessions, success, security, or self-sufficiency more than God. So, how is it that you, forgetting to give thanks to God, when we're eaten and are satisfied, how does that expose our idolatrous heart? There are idols in our heart and our mind. And God says, the idol that I'm putting my finger on, the Ruach HaKodesh, is this. If you don't open your mouth and say, Toda Rabba Abba, in some form, you are in effect saying, I did this. And God is saying to us, don't take it lightly. Don't say, oh, I forgot. No, you're communicating something. Be intentional to remember that there is no other. So therefore, who will provide this food for you? Since only He exists, then there is no other. You're bound to must return and give Him thanks. Because to not do that is to think that there are other things that exist independently of Him, and therefore you don't need Him. But if you remember to bless Him, you begin to say, my Lord and my God, You have opened your hands. That's why I love to read Psalm 145 every day. There's a particular verse in that passage. It says, Lord, the eyes of all, I want you to see it, the eyes of all look to you. You give us our food in due season. Open your hands. And I love to say that part very slowly as I visualize God opening his hands to bless. What a thought to think about. Open your hands and satisfy the desire of every living creature. From the diet of the earthworm to the whale. Every human being, you open your hand and satisfy them. But humans, made in his image, should return to bless him. What does it mean to bless? It's to realize the potential for abundance. There's a latent power of godliness that needs to be activated. When you're about to eat and you bless God, you're remembering that it is the Creator who brought this fruit, this meal into existence. He did it. And because he did it, you have to return and bless him. Because when you return to bless him, you bring an awareness of God. To bless is to magnify, to have abundance, more. You bring an awareness of God into your presence. That simple meal is sanctified by the presence of God. You allow God to sanctify his name. So, materialism whispers, I am what I own. My wealth keeps me safe. My achievements define my worth. In that sense, wealth can become an idol whenever it occupies the place reserved for God. It is he who is giving us power to get wealth. But if we don't remember that, we will turn back around and worship the very wealth, blessing the creation rather than the creator. We focus on what we see. But this invisible God is telling us, do this mitzvah. When you are eaten and are satisfied, turn to bless God. Do you think it's natural? Go with me to Luke chapter 17. Luke chapter 17. There's an account that our master had that I want us to look at. Luke chapter 17. Tells the story of the 10 lepers, right? Who cry out to Yeshua for mercy. All 10 obey his instruction to go show themselves to the priest. So let's look at it. As he entered a village, and remember, nothing that he did is coincidental, right? It's all providential. 10 leprous men who stood at a distance met him. They couldn't come near. And they raised their voices saying, Yeshua, Master, have mercy on us. There was a desperate need that was in them. Continue on. When he saw them, he said to them, go, show yourselves to the priest. And as they were going, they were cleansed. As they were going, in their going, they were cleansed. They started to walk full of leprosy, and as they were going, they were cleansed. Now one of them, when he saw that he had been healed, turned back to Shuvah, glorifying God with a loud voice. Look at the detail. And he fell on his face at his feet, the feet of Yeshua, giving thanks to him. And he was a Samaritan. A veiled rebuke. Then Yeshua answered and said, back then and now, were there not 10 cleansed? That's a rhetorical question, right? But the 9, where are they? Where are they? Was no one found who returned to give glory to God except this foreigner? And he said to him, stand up and go. Your faith, your faithfulness had made you well. I want you to picture it now. 10 men, desperate need. They needed the master. In his loving kindness, he blessed. Go show yourself to the priest. And then you have this heartbreaking account. 1 out of 10 comes back to glorify him. So being grateful is something that you and I need to hear again and again. It's not intuitive. It's not natural. It's not instinctive. We got to be told to be grateful. Because somehow in our little minds, we think other things and other people exist. That's why we don't come back and give thanks. But when we realize that he is God, there is no other, and he is the only one who has existence, and everything's come from him, through him, and must go back to him be glory, we return to give thanks. Oh my God. And I know all of us would want to think that we're in the one that return, but the master is telling us, not so. Think about the last time someone did something for you and I, and we did not open our mouth to say thanks. All 10 cleansed, where the 9? It's not merely ingratitude, it is forgetfulness. It is idolatry of the heart. Because God so desires to bless us, we should be the most thankful people in the universe. God desires to bless you and I more than we can imagine. That's why we should be more thankful. So there is a trait. It's called Hakarat Hatov. It means recognizing the good. Recognizing the good. To recognize the good means to recognize the goodness of God. And if our eyes are veiled, we will not recognize the good. And there's goodness all around us. The Lord is good and does good. But if you and I don't recognize, then we will not be able to give thanks. This Samaritan, who's made the image of God, recognize goodness and turn back and give thanks to God. So there are myriad of benefits that all around us, brethren, even in the midst of our hardships and difficulties and adversities, the goodness of God is all around us. The whole earth is filled with his glory. The whole earth is filled with his glory. He's all around us. And so I want to challenge us to take up this phrase, awaken to the good and give thanks. Say to yourself, awaken to the good, which implies that we are slumbering, we are sleeping. We are not awakened to the goodness. We might be more awake to the reality of our disappointments, but God says, awaken to the good. And when you recognize the good, do something, say something. Don't pass by a sunset without saying something. Don't look at the smile of a newborn babe and don't say something. Don't see a situation where you see the glory of God because you're standing on holy ground and you are mute. Open my lips, O God, that my mouth may declare your praise. awaken to the good, and give thanks. So, you and I are learning to say thank you to every person who does even the slightest thing that is helpful or beneficial. Let me say that again. Let us be awakened to thank every person at all times who does the slightest thing that is helpful or beneficial to us. Why? Why? Because it's not my power, it's not my might that I've gotten this favor. I have a dear friend. When he does something for me, I will say thanks, because I have internalized this, awaken to the good and say thanks. So I'm trying to train myself in righteousness to articulate thanksgiving. And every time I say it, it says, you don't have to give thanks. It's okay. And I just smile. No, I need to give thanks. I understand what you're saying, but I need to give thanks because I have to guard the idols in my heart. If I don't articulate, I will say, I'm entitled to this kindness. No, I'm not. And that's what ingratitude is. I am entitled to this. That's why you have to do this for me, you see. When I come and you're rendering a service to me, you are being paid to do that. I am entitled. I don't have to say thank you for your service. I don't have to look at your name tag and thank you. You are just by the way. That's idolatry. That's entitlement. That's a false sense of entitlement. I remember sometime I was invited to a home, and what blessed my heart when we sat at the table, mother and father, when the children were leaving the table, they said, "Thank you, Mom and Dad, for providing this meal." My heart took a picture. I said, wow. They thank their parents. It's a good habit, right? Good. Good training for our young ones. Let them thank you at home so that when they go outside, they will not have this false sense of entitlement. And open your mouth loud enough and say thanks. That's important too. So, we recognize Him and we give thanks. How can I give thanks in the midst of difficulties, adversities, and trials? How can I give thanks? I'm on a wheelchair. How can I give thanks? You have a sharp mind. My hand is broken. How can I give thanks? Well, both of them weren't broken. You recognize the good and you say thanks because it is God who is in charge. Nothing happens to you aimlessly. Everything has a purpose. That's why I say it is God who gives us power to get wealth. In Exodus chapter 7, verse 19, there's an interesting text that in studying this, I looked at it, and there's a comment from the sages on this verse. I thought this is an interesting way of giving thanks. And I said, I will just share it with us. Exodus 17, verse 19, it says this. Then the Lord said to Moshe, say to Aaron, take your staff and stretch it over the waters of Egypt, and the waters will become blood. The Lord told Moses, tell Aaron, stretch it over. What does that have to do with ingratitude? The sages derived this insight, and I felt it was so wonderful. Moshe was not told to take his rod and stretch it over. It was Aaron. Why? They extract from this. The Nile was good to Moshe. So how could Moshe turn around and curse the Nile? Even inanimate objects. I know some rabbis go to the extent where after they use their clothes, they wrap it up neatly and then discard it. In other words, they recognize it. Wait now. It's not idolatry, worshiping inanimate. It's not that. It is recognizing that that exists because the Creator allows it to exist. And when you open your mouth and give thanks, you are directly, indirectly returning thanks to the Creator. That is what it is about. So Moshe, remembering the gratitude of the Nile, how the Nile would have protected him, didn't curse. I found it interesting to think about that. What about the clothes that you wear? What about the tally that you put on? You got to see the Creator's hand, because there is no other. It is not your power, not your might, not your master's, not your bachelor, not your doctorate, not your ingenuity, not your savings that have gotten you this. It is God, the Creator, the unbegotten God, who gave you the gift of the power to get wealth. Therefore, open your mouth and say thanks to him, because it will guard and destroy the idols in your heart. And you say, Rabbi, I don't have idols in my heart, but my master said 9 of them had idols in their heart. 1 returned to give thanks. How rare is thankfulness? God is saying to us, take care. So, I want to challenge us with this gratitude as a daily discipline. You know there's a prayer that we say on mornings. I encourage us to say it. It is Mode Ani. You know that, right? And where it is translated is, I gratefully thank you, living and eternal King, for you have restored my soul to me in compassion. But in looking at the Hebrew, I found it quite interesting that it doesn't say Ani Mode, it says Mode Ani. Mode Ani. Ani, I. Not Ani Mode, but Mode Ani. In other words, the first word when you wake up in the morning is not I, it is grateful am I. You see the twist? You see the change? The first one you can say, really? No, we are called to be theocentric, not egocentric. We are not the center of the universe. He is. Therefore, grateful am I, rather than I am grateful. Now, of course, you are grateful, but I'm just showing us the shift. There's an interesting study that was done. Research shows that practicing gratitude 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week, for at least 6 weeks, will enhance mental wellness and possibly promote a lasting change in perspective. Imagine that. Reduce depression, lessen anxiety, support heart health, relieve stress, improve sleep. All of that from being thankful. All of that from recognizing that the Creator is on his throne and nothing happens apart from him. Therefore, I could give thanks to him. So you and I really have to practice this intentional attention. Awaken to the good. Reflect on what we have received. And you know what? We got to acknowledge our dependence of others. God created us in such a way that there is interdependence on other people. And sometimes we don't want things from other people because we don't want to be indebted to them. But you're missing out something. God is saying, I made you all in my image. And I want you to see how you are dependent upon me. Return and give thanks to me. That is the lesson that he's telling us again and again and again. When you are eaten and are satisfied, bless the Lord your God. Because gratitude reveals worship. Think about it. The difference between the 9 and the 1 was not the miracle. They all experienced it. The difference was in worship. They did not bow to self-entitlement, self-sufficiency. This Samaritan bowed to the one true living God. So gratitude determines who you're worshiping in your heart. You see, gratitude redirects our attention from the blessing to the blesser. Without gratitude, even blessings become idols. Idols. When we stop thanking God, we begin to assume ownership. When we assume ownership, pride follows. When pride grows, worship fades. This is exactly what Moses was warning us about. You will forget. When time passes, if you don't do this thing every day, you will forget. So I'm telling you what to do, so that when you're eaten and are satisfied, you would remember these sophisticated idols: financial security, careers, technology, reputation, comfort, possession. All those things come into our heart and mind because we think it is our power that have gotten us this wealth. And God is revealing to us, not so. So I want to remind us again about Birkat Hamazon. When I first came to Canada, I was amazed and blessed by the abundance of wealth. And as I saw it, it's as if the Spirit of God reminded me, guard your heart, my son. Because in the midst of materialism is idolatry. And remind them, when they're eaten and are satisfied, bless. Because if you don't tell them, they will think, my power and my might has gotten me this. So I want to encourage you to do it individually. And as you have opportunity, when you're eaten and are satisfied, wherever, use it as an opportunity to bring the Creator in the midst of that. Because if you don't, you contribute to idolatry. It's materialism. And when you don't acknowledge the Creator, you are saying, it is my power and my wealth have gotten me this. And I'm challenging myself, and I'm challenging you, and I'm challenging us as a congregation. When you're eaten and are satisfied downstairs at Oneg, you bless God individually. And if you find that we are going on and we have not done it, somebody has to have the awareness, say, Rabbi, we didn't do Birkat Hamazon. And we should be able to do it corporately because we want to bless God together. Because we know how easy it is. We may not mean to do it, but God says it happens so subtly. Something comes up and we forget. But God is saying, guard your heart, because that would stick with you. So he's telling us, Birkat Hamazon is so important. Blessing God when you're eaten and are satisfied is so important. When you have eaten and are satisfied. So don't eat until you are full. Eat until you are satisfied. You see, when you begin to realize it is God who have given you this food, then you begin to think about eating contemplatively. You don't just say, I'm hungry, and you dive in. No, animals do that. Humans made in the image of God would pause and give God thanks before. Because it is he who gave us hunger so that we could rely on him, so that we could eat, and then we could turn back and bless him, lest our heart thinks, it is me who have done this. And I said there are new people among us, and I felt I wanted to go and bring out treasures, new and old, and to remind us again the importance of gratitude. Because if we are not grateful, we become idolatrous. Very, very important. Very, very, very important. Because God is saying, look, you see those idols? Burn it. Cut it down. Tear it down. Crush it. Destroy it. How do you do that? Thank you for your kindness. You're going through the line. Thank you for serving me. The slightest benefit you get from another human being, you are getting from the Creator. It's not the human being. It is the Creator through that human being. Therefore, open your mouth and say, thank you. Because if you don't, because I forget. Well, you're learning now. Be intentional. Remember, do not forget. And don't think in your mind, oh, you don't have to say thanks. Don't say that. Don't say, oh, you don't have to thank me. Yes, we do. Oh, you don't have to thank. You know it is more blessed to give than to receive. You're denying me an opportunity to bless you? No. We're being trained because idols would crop up in our hearts so much to hide the face of our Creator. So we are learning to give thanks. In everything, this is the will of God. And for everything, we give thanks. In everything, this is the will of God. In everything, give thanks. For everything, give thanks. Oh my God. So, 1 Corinthians 10, verse 21, we have an account from our apostles. They're speaking about a meal. He said, you cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of demons. You cannot partake of the table of the Lord, because every table is an altar, and the table of demons. If I partake with what? Thankfulness. How do you partake? With thankfulness. Why am I slandered? Concerning that for which I give thanks. So Paul is in the habit of giving thanks. He said, whether then you eat or drink, or whatever you do, do all to the glory of God. So you don't drink a glass of water without giving thanks to God who created the water. Because if you do, you are stealing. You are saying, I have got me. I'm bringing this home to us, brother, because by God's grace, I want to shatter the illusion of idolatry in our hearts and our minds, and especially in a place where we have our abundance. The danger could crop up in our hearts that when we don't open our mouth and say thank you, where are the 9, the master says? He's telling us we need to return and give thanks to God. So we've seen it again and again. And let me just mention quickly, this is in passing. In the King James Version, go with me to Matthew 26, verse 26. I just want to point this out. When I was now starting my walk with the Lord, Matthew 26, 26. As they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and break it and give it to the disciples and says, take, eat, this is my body. So I'm a new Christian, and I'm reading this verse. Jesus took bread and blessed it. But as a novice, I didn't recognize that the word it is in italics. And if it's in italics, it means it wasn't in the original Greek. But I didn't know that. So I went through a whole season of blessing the food. Because there, Jesus blessed it. And sometimes I hear people blessing the food. See the subtle shift? You're blessing the food. You bless the Creator who gave the food. So reading it without the it, Yeshua took bread and blessed. Bless who? The Creator, because he's theocentric, not egocentric. And he broke and gave to the disciples. So as disciples, as you know, we should be giving thanks to the Creator. Bless the Creator, not the creation. That's the mistake of Romans 1. They bless the creation rather than the Creator. They turn the image of the incorruptible God into things that can be seen. And God is saying that same thing happens in my mind, in your mind, because there's a temple of our mind, and in the secrecy of our mind, when we don't articulate thanksgiving, we are bowing in worship before our ingenuity. And God is saying, tell them that they need to give thanks to me. Because this is God. This is very serious. So God does something that I believe is so amazing. In Deuteronomy 8, verse 3, Deuteronomy 8, he gave us a revelation. I want you to see something that I believe is so interesting. Deuteronomy 8. Go to Deuteronomy 8. He humbled you. This is the God, Lord God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He humbled you and let you be hungry. So hunger provides humility, right? So he humbled you and let you be hungry and fed you with manna. So he humbled you, he made you hungry to feed you with manna. Now, manna is not from the natural realm, right? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob didn't know this, but he did that so that you might make you understand. He's trying to get us to understand there is no other. That man does not live by bread alone, but man lives by everything that proceeds out of the mouth of God. Now, that should sound familiar to you, because you know our rabbi would have quoted that to resist the enemy. Because the enemy was saying, take these stones and make it bread. The enemy is trying to shift our attention from the creator onto the creation. But the master said, listen, I'm quoting this. The man should not live by bread alone, but the man lives by every word that proceeds. What does that mean? It means that there is God, and he alone exists. And you and I have existence because he permits me to exist. So I'm living because in him I live and move and have my being. Therefore, if I exist and this food exists, it is the creator who gave it to me. Therefore, I serve him. Oh my God. So man does not live by bread alone, but by every word. But I want you to see, he humbled you and made you and fed you with manna. But then watch at verse 16, if you're not careful. In the wilderness, he fed you manna, which your fathers didn't know, that he may humble you. Did you see this switch? You see it? One, he humbles you to give you manna. Next, he gives you manna to humble you. What a God. You see it? He humbles you to give you manna. Why manna? He humbles you so that you can know it is only the creator. He gives you manna then to awaken humility in you and I. Because man doesn't live by bread alone. Matthew 6:25 said, is not life more than food and the body more than clothing? He's chiding his disciples. The Gentiles eagerly seek all these things, but your heavenly Father knows what you have need of. Seek first the kingdom. The miracle of manna reminds us that the material world is not our source of life. Can I say that again? The material world is not our source of life. Our source of life is the unbegotten, incorporeal God, the God who is no other. He causes material things to exist. He is the source of life. And God says, I'm giving you manna so that you will understand that. The material world came into existence from the utterance of his mouth. Therefore, we should look to the Creator, not the creation. God is telling Israel that, and he's telling the congregation of Messiah that also. So he said, tell them, stop blessing the food. You give thanks for what God has sanctified. You bless the Creator, and you partake with thanksgiving. Shift back that focus, because the father of lies would want them to worship him. So this manna provided a daily reminder that God is the source of life. I'm saying it again and again, because all that we have are resources from the source. He is the source of all blessing. What we enjoy are simply resources. But look at the word resource, source. You got to return to the source. That's what your resources should teach you. Return to the source. Not worship the resources. No, return to the source of all blessings. All things come forth from God. He spoke it into being. Man lives by everything that proceeds. And notice he didn't say man lived by everything that proceeded. He's the great I am, so it's still proceeding. I've been meditating on God as far back as my little mind could take me. And I'm seeing, oh my God, you are one. You are the only one. Everything emanates from you. So as I stand, I see, I'm here. Where is God? Well, wherever you let him in. Where is God? Wherever you let him in. So I'm standing here. East, west, north, south, up, down. All emanates from this creator. So wherever I go, east, west, north, south, up, down, I focus on the source who created space, who created time, who created energy. He is the only one that exists. Everything in the material realm comes from him. That's why he's telling us, don't bow down to other gods, because the universe exists through me. So he's telling his disciples again, Moses didn't give you bread out of heaven, no. But it's my Father who gives you the true bread out of heaven. For the bread of God, that manna, is that which comes down out of the supernatural realm and gives life to the world. I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will not hunger. He who believes in me will not thirst. That's the messianic perspective of us understanding why God is humbling us to give us manna, why he's feeding us with manna to humble us so that we could continually understand the Creator. He is the one from whom all things flow. From him, through him, and to him are all things. To him be the glory. Father, it's coming clearer and clearer, brethren. Look with me at Deuteronomy 8:15. Just want to bring this home as I close. Deuteronomy 8:15. There's a text in there. He led you through the great and terrible wilderness. Now, it says in this Torah portion, the great, awesome, and mighty God leads us through a great and terrible wilderness. Because the wilderness experience should remind us of the Creator. So Paul could say, I count it all joy. I rejoice in adversities. I rejoice in these things that are coming to me. My strength is made perfect in weakness, says God. When you see a human body weakened by the vicissitudes of life, yet you see a mind that is renewed, my strength is made perfect in that weakness. So God, please, don't take my brokenness, my Father. Don't take it from me, because if you take it from me, I will think that I am well, I am whole, I am strong. But in brokenness, I see you, and I rely upon you. Don't take from me any trial that would prevent me from seeing you. Come what may, come what may. It comes from the hand of a loving Father, and he has lovingly orchestrated that trial so that I could be connected to him. Don't take my brokenness. Don't take my need for you. Feed me with bread convenient for me, because if I am full, I would deny you. If I don't have, I may curse you and blaspheme you. But just give me what I need, Father, so that my eyes will be upon you. So notice, fiery serpents and scorpions. Fiery serpents and scorpions. Now watch this kesha in Luke. In Luke chapter 10, the 70 returned with joy. Remember, he had 12 disciples and 70 more. Lord, even the demons are subject to us in your name. They got some success in ministry. And he said to them, I was watching Satan fall from heaven like lightning. You are going out there preaching the gospel of the kingdom. And as you go out, I look up and I see the kingdom of darkness being dismantled. I saw Satan falling. You're living between the lightning and the thunderclap. That's how close the end of the age is. I was watching Satan fall. Behold, I give you authority to tread on what? Serpents and scorpions. Where did we just read that verse? In Deuteronomy. He said, I put you through a wilderness experience so that you could overcome serpents and scorpions. So that these things don't have you. Over all the power of the enemy, and nothing will injure you. I want you to look at that. Nothing will injure you? What do you mean nothing will injure me? We still have broken hands and broken bones in this life. What do you mean nothing will injure you? Nevertheless, I'm going to come back to that nothing. Do not rejoice in this, that the spirits are subject to you. That's just one creation being subject to another creation. But rejoice that your names, your character are recorded in heaven. in God. At that very time, he rejoiced greatly in the Holy Spirit. Now we get this. And said, I praise you, I thank you, O Father, Lord of heaven, because there is no other, and on earth. You have hidden these things from the wise and intelligent who create idols in their heart, and have revealed them to infants who realize their utter dependence upon me. Yes, Father, for this way was well-pleasing in your sight. I'm coming back to nothing shall by any means hurt you. Nothing shall hurt you, because when you focus on the Father and return to give thanks, everything and everyone becomes insignificant. They are as if they are nothing. So nothing could hurt you. Nothing could injure you. Nothing could shift your focus, come what may, because your focus is on the Father. And you don't say, the devil sneaking in. I keep saying that to us because when you begin to see Father as the only God, the enemy becomes insignificant. I read about this servant of God. He was sleeping on his bed, and he turned and saw a manifestation of the evil one. And he just said, oh, it is you. And he just turned right back and sleep. I love that. Let me say that again. He was sleeping on his bed. He turned and saw a manifestation of some demon. And he said, oh, it is you. And he turned right back and sleep. Why? Why didn't he get up and bind you and rebuke you and cast you out? Why? Because that demon is insignificant. It is nothing. It is nothing. You cannot do anything that the Creator doesn't permit. Yeshua was standing in the presence of Pilate. You have no authority over me but that which is given to you. You got to see it, brethren. That's why you could give thanks for challenges. That's why you could have your focus on God. Because there's no idol, right? Idol is nothing. Idol doesn't exist. So you could give thanks for everything, in everything, and for everything. I know we love that part. Give thanks in everything, but give thanks for everything. Wait. You sure about that? Give thanks for everything? Yes. Because the Creator permitted that thing to come, to give him glory, and to work it together for good. So it may not be good, but you give thanks to the Creator that he allowed this to come to you and I. So I close with that, reminding us again, brethren, dearly beloved, and I remind myself, when you're eaten and are satisfied, bless God. The Jewish people have composed a blessing, book at Amazon. I would encourage us to learn it. There's even a melody in that. We could learn to sing it. But even if you don't know that yet, give God thanks before. Grace before meal. Give God thanks during. Eat contemplatively. Say, what? Yes. Let your taste buds be alive. The Creator who created the taste buds so that you could enjoy this meal, so that you could get strength, so that you could sanctify his name and you could do his will. That's why you're getting food. You think you're getting food just because you're hungry? You're getting food because God wants to strengthen you to do his will. That's how we could say, I have food to eat that you know not of. My bread is to do the will of him who sent me and to accomplish his work. That's why you should pray God for your daily needs, because now it is God's will being done, not just your needs being met. It is about the Creator. Father and God, in the precious merit of Yeshua, so I pray that the congregational prayer would come up. Let's pause and consider this Creator God. This God who blesses us. This God who's asking us to turn to Him and give thanks. Blessed is He, and He is blessed. Let's think about Him. Even as we sit pondering, I believe Father has opened His hands to satisfy us. So right where you are, you return and thank Him for whatever revelation He caused you to receive. Thank Him when you're eating and are satisfied, not just physically, but spiritually, and develop the habit of thanking God after Bible study. After you hear the word preached, He just opened His hand and satisfied you. Blessed are they that hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled, they shall be satisfied. Father, you didn't have to reveal this to us, but we thank you now, Lord God, that no material possession will have us, but we would be faithful stewards of whatever you allow to exist. God, destroy the idols of our heart, please, Father. In this culture of abundance, please, Father, let us not be overcome by materialism. Please, Father, break the golden handcuffs. Break it, Father, so that every time your disciples would turn and give thanks. We will be that one that would cause others to take note that we are thankful people. And we will not wait to be acknowledged, because you are kind even to the unthankful. So we will give thanks to you. Whether we are appreciated or acknowledged, we don't rely on that. We look to you. And we would bless you. Awaken to the good and give thanks. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.